like a real Midwest guy. The other guy is seen as like the exact type of annoying rat fucker that is from there, but then comes back to just basically. One thing that I always repeat about JD Vance is JD Vance types and Pete Buttigieg types, when they come to your town, you're going to lose your job, okay? That's what the media analysis is on the matter.
Events still unfolding and uncertainty in the Middle East. The two sparred over who offers stronger leadership at this critical moment.
Our allies understand that Donald Trump is fickle. He will go to whoever has the most flattery or where it makes sense to him. Steady leadership like you witnessed today, like you witnessed in April. Both Iranian attacks were repelled. Our coalition is strong, and we need the steady leadership that Kamala Harris is providing.
Governor Walz can criticize Donald Trump's tweets, but effective, smart diplomacy and peace through strength is how you bring stability back to a very broken world. Donald Trump has already done it once before.
In a presidential campaign that has been anything but civil, this was a strikingly civil and substantive debate.
Well, I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think...
Yeah, the media loves this shit. The media loves, like, oh, look at how civil they were, and it was so substantive. They talked about policies. That only helps JD Vance. Straight up. That does not help the ticket for Kamala Harris at all. A substantive civil debate is not helping Tim Walz. Make no mistake. It only makes JD Vance look like a fucking moderate. That's why I'm so frustrated with the fucking debate and the outcome of the debate.
There was a lot of commonality here, and I'm sympathetic to misspeaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator.
Me too, man.
There's one.
It wasn't until 90 minutes into the debate that the contentious topic of the last election came up.
I would just ask that.
You want to know why? You want to know why that's dangerous? Because here, I'll give you a great example. Okay, my normie friends literally said, these guys are so normal, why can't they be the ones running? Okay? Do you want to know how devastating that is for Trump's policy, which JD Vance is communicating? That means JD Vance, as I said to you, conducted himself in such a moderate way that people forgot that he was actually speaking on Trump's policies. Okay? JD Vance was able to successfully communicate to a broad subsect of American voters that Trump's policies are actually normal and maybe even good. Because Americans are so aesthetic focused, you have to understand when someone communicates in a very civil manner, okay, when he doesn't do the, oh, they're here? Okay, perfect. I'll unlock the door. Oh, they're not outside, but okay. You need to understand, this is bad. This is really fucking bad. If you hate the Republicans for their policies, this is really bad, okay? If you even hate the Republicans for aesthetic bullshit reasons, this is still bad because this makes Republicans look normal. You don't want them to look normal. You don't want their fucking Nazi-ass attitude to be normal, ever, okay? Anyway.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
Vance insisted it is Democrats who are the biggest threat to democracy.
Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment.
A president's words matter. A president's words matter. People hear that. So I think this issue of settling our differences at the ballot box, shaking hands when we lose, being honest about it, but to deny what happened on January 6th, the first time in American history that a president or anyone tried to overturn a fair election and the peaceful transfer of power.
In the first part of the debate, Governor Walz seemed nervous. He had trouble answering a question about whether or not he was in China during the Tiananmen Square uprising.
My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good good member of Congress. Those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this is I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
In contrast to his often combative tone on the campaign trail.
May I respond to that? First of all, Governor, I agree with you. Amber Thurman should still be alive, and there are a lot of people who should still be alive, and I certainly wish that she was.
Senator Vance appeared measured and polite.
I'm sure Governor Walz joins me in saying our hearts go out to those innocent people, our prayers go out to them, and we want as robust and aggressive as a federal response as we can get.
But in a recent poll, more than half of registered voters, 51%, said they view Vance.
I think that the Hong Kong stuff was like really weird. I think what he could have just simply said is that he misspoke or something and just like moved on. Why do we give a fuck about the Tiananmen Square thing? We don't. This is one of those instances where the media chooses to, like, the media desperately tries to find like a equilibrium, right? Where they're like, well, we're doing JD Vance stuff, so we might as well like find something to showcase how equal and even-footed we are on this issue. Okay? And that's precisely what's going on. They're like, oh, well, you said that you were there at the Tiananmen Square protests one time many, many years ago. Like, it's minuscule. It's totally minuscule in comparison to like, all of the stuff that you have for JD Vance that he regularly, it's neutrality, not objectivity. Exactly. But they sell it. They sell it as though it is objectivity, but it actually is neutrality. And yeah, like JD Vance, even in that debate, said numerous fucking times a litany of unhinged things. Okay? For example, he said the housing crisis is caused by immigrants, that undocumented immigrants are responsible for the housing crisis. That is a ridiculous position. Okay? That is a preposterous position. You automatically are making it seem like it's like saying the housing crisis is being caused by people moving to an area, okay? Like not just undocumented immigrants or documented immigrants, just anyone moving to an area. It is ridiculous to mention that without stating that like we are not actually keeping up with the additional demand. And it's especially ridiculous when your argument is in recognition of that reality, that there is need for more supply of housing, which is why one of your policies is literally to create 3 million additional housing units. Okay? And there is a litany of different issues that also artificially limit the supply of available housing anyway. I think that overall so much insanity goes unchecked whenever immigrants are discussed. They are simply a non-entity. They're not human. Like they're not viewed or communicated about as though they are human, but instead they are some sort of barbaric horde, a monolithic force of evil, that they are operating within the boundaries of the United States as like a monolithic evil force. This is a very dangerous idea to leave unchecked. Okay? It is at the heart of fascist thought. And I am genuinely frustrated. I'm genuinely frustrated that this is not something that people are working to solve, like something that they're working to solve in terms of the communication, and it is leading America down a dangerous path. Hold on, I'm posting a photo of me and Motaz. It's right there, I think. Under the table. There's a bag under the table. I don't know whose it is. But that might be it. All right, bye. Could you please explain why it's ridiculous to say that an increase in immigration causes increasing housing prices, like doesn't increase demand, increase pricing equilibrium? The reason why it's ridiculous is because the types of housing that like the undocumented migrants occupy in general are not the types of housing that you're fucking staying in anyway. Like, this is not a real problem in general. They for the most part are overwhelmingly living in the absolute most desolate, the absolute worst conditions in the fucking slums. Okay, they're not purchasing the houses; they're renting them, and if that is a problem, if they are impacting the supply, you don't communicate it like that. You don't ever, like, if there was a massive amount of people in a normal society, if there was a massive amount of people from, like, I don't know, California moving to fucking Texas, for example, does that actually raise housing prices? Certainly. Okay. But the problem isn't fucking stopping Californians from moving to Texas. That's not how you deal with that issue. The way you deal with that issue instead is by increasing this fucking supply of housing. Okay? That's it. Anyway. Bro, this guy's a fucking troll for sure. Look at his fucking chest. No way. I agree.
Vance unfavorably, while just 32%.
Like, the immigrants are responsible for the housing supply diminishing. Unironically, is in the same vein as, like, immigrants are responsible for drug trafficking into the United States of America. They comprise a tiny percentage of the available housing that they occupy. Okay? And yet they are made to be the fucking problem in this story. Just like they are not responsible for the drug trafficking into the United States at all. And yet this is improper fucking framing. Oh. Who do you think is more responsible for diminishing housing supply in urban areas? Okay? Who?
So one of the most
do you think it's the immigrants, or do you think it's motherfucking Airbnbs, for example? Who do you think is more responsible? Airbnb or undocumented migrants? I thought you said this debate didn't matter. Why does everyone seem to care so much about it? Is it because it's just a news story? I mean, people care about it because, like, these are two unknown entities overall. This is a unique election cycle in terms of, like, having a very truncated campaign on the one hand, the Kamala Harris campaign, with a relatively new, lesser known person that is supposed to be the VP of this campaign, going up against J.D. Vance, who was also relatively new on the scene, Green senator, one-term senator overall, very young. And on top of that, Trump is old. Who knows what happens to him, you know? He keeps having assassination attempts. So, like, J.D. Vance could very well be the next president if something happens to Donald Trump. So people are interested, I think.
Things about the debate last night was that the Trump-Vance housing plan, the plan that Vance put out repeatedly, was mass deportations. They were going to lower the cost of housing, make more housing available by mass deporting millions of people.
This is straight up Nazi shit, by the way. Like, I hope y'all understand. I'm not even remotely exaggerating when I say this is straight up Nazi Germany, okay? Oh, we'll take all of the things that the ill-gotten gains of the Jews, okay, because we deserve it. We deserve those gains instead. Pre-watched? What do you mean pre-watched? I'm pre-watching history, I guess. You should pre-watch the top of the hour ad break, okay? At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Okay, here's the 3-minute ad break now. Did you see this? Yeah, I did. The Daily Trojan article, it's up there. You pre-watched history? Yes, I think that's called learning. Yeah. Okay, I think we should change the Tiltify link to just the Unreal link, because the direct Unreal link, because it's fucking tilting me. How many chatters are like, it's not working. Okay, I don't know what the fuck's going on there, and I'm annoyed. All right, let's continue.
The CBS even put it up on the screen as like a legitimate housing policy. Democrats want tax credits and assistance for construction, and Trump and Vance want to deport lots of people to alleviate demand, treating it like a legitimate policy. Now, we can talk about it as a policy, right? As a policy, it doesn't make any fucking sense. First of all, it strains credulity to think that there are millions of homes owned by unauthorized immigrants. I think according to Freddie Mac, the nation is short 3.8 million homes to rent or buy. So you're telling me that some significant portion of that 3.8 million are owned by unauthorized immigrants who don't have social security numbers, who don't have tax identification numbers, who may not have bank accounts, right? I'm lucky enough, blessed enough to own a home, and in addition to having to save a lot of money over a very long time, I had to have all this paperwork, all this legal documentation. And you're telling me that people who are not in the country legally have all this documentation to be able to buy a home. It's dumb. It's stupid. Setting that aside, right, if you were to deport 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million people, you would cause, especially unauthorized immigrants, you would cause the American construction industry to collapse. There would be very little labor for construction, which would cause the price of building anything in this country, and especially homes, to skyrocket. So not only would this not make a dent on supply, but it would likely cause the price of housing to grow by huge amounts, by leaps and bounds. But kind of the policy thing is almost besides the point, because tell me if this sounds familiar to you. The plan to make America great again, to provide housing for all, for the many citizens who need it, is to go home by home, deport millions of people, and essentially take their homes and provide it for native-born citizens. There's a name for that. There's a name for that. It's in German. It's Lebensraum. And when you think of some of the other stuff they've suggested, Trump saying we need a single night of letting the police go wild to deal with everything. We joke that he's talking about the purge, but there's another way you can look at that, the name for it. I'll use the English name here, Night of Broken Glass. You can't tell me that these people aren't calling for what they're calling for.
They are, straight up. They are. Okay? Absolutely, without a shred of doubt, that is precisely what the fuck they're doing. Okay? In terms of American domestic policy, that is exactly what they're doing. The issue is, why the fuck is it just Jamel Bowie talking about it? Why the fuck is Kamala Harris not talking about it? Why the fuck is the Democratic Party not talking about it? Well, I'll tell you why. Okay? The reason why the Democrats are not talking about it in these terms is because they are also now in the tank for a lighter version of it. And I am very frustrated by this reality that I am watching unfold in front of my eyes. Okay? I do not like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it one bit, because even if this was to be successful politics, which it is not, because it's not successful to lean on the right wing, right wing sentiments. You're not going to actually convince voters to vote for you, because if they are anti-immigrant voters, they are voting for a party that has captured that market completely. Okay? It's called the Republican Party. All you are doing in that circumstance is basically prime your voters into also believing that there is a major problem when there isn't one. Okay? All you're doing is feeding your own base of support. All you're doing is feeding your own fucking base of support an unimaginable amount of ammunition to maybe even turn to the other party. That's why it is very frustrating when I see liberals in this community that probably, and like, for example, that one guy who was not even a liberal, who was a leftist, he said, advocate for why the Democrats are doing this and why it's successful campaign strategy, not recognizing that, like, literally, as we look through his communications a couple of years prior, he was on the exact opposing side of that argument. That is what happens when the Democrats capitulate to right-wing framing. Okay? Most people are not independent thinkers, even if they fancy themselves to be independent thinkers. Okay? They just basically repeat what television man tells them. The broadest majority of the population don't even give a fuck, obviously. But the ones who do care, the ones who are supposedly the educated, high propensity voters, right? Those people are being fed this propaganda. Those people adopt these positions by watching television man tell them these positions. One in 5 undocumented workers, 1.4 million people are employed in construction. That's more than 10% of the entire labor force and 32% of roofers. With the industry already facing a shortage of about 500,000 workers, Trump's deportation scheme would grind the construction of new housing to a halt, turbocharging the affordability crisis. The issue here is that people only fucking talk about this aspect of it, and I think that this is a way that, like, in the minds of a lot of Republicans proves the problem. They're like, oh, well, they're taking our jobs then. Here it is. Okay? For the criticism that people just adopt what the TV man tells them, aren't we doing the same thing with you? Yeah, but my opinions are correct. But also beyond that, I also urge you always to go and seek out the truth on your own. I provide additional evidence to you about where my beliefs come from. Okay? Even if I personally pull data from the top of my mind, when I pull this shit from Top Dome, my editors slap it. Okay? They put the actual fucking info. They literally put the information of where I'm getting this info from on the edited YouTube videos on my YouTube page. That's the difference. And I still ultimately urge you to go and seek out the truth on your own. I don't like the angle of like undocumented immigrants are, you know, basically fucking great slave labor either. I don't like that at all. I think that in and of itself is a problem that also needs to be solved by documenting them and increasing their wages alongside the rest of the American working class. But anyway, let's get back to this conversation, last night's debate.
And said they view Walz unfavorably. Governor Walz aimed his jabs at the top of the Republican ticket.
If you're going to be president, you don't have all the answers. Donald Trump believes he does. My pro tip of the day is this. If you need heart surgery, listen to the people at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, not Donald Trump. And the same thing goes with this. And I ask you out there, teachers, nurses, truck drivers, or whatever, how is it fair that you're paying your taxes every year and Donald Trump hasn't paid any federal tax in the last 15 years, and the last year as president? That's what's wrong with the system. There's a way around it, and he's bragged about that.
Most Americans didn't know either of them just a few months ago, but their names are now on lawn signs all over America, and each was parodied on.
It's worth pointing out that I'm sure HasanAbi will also bring you up on, will also post you up, is that Hezbollah is not staying idle. They're also attacking Israeli before they were relieved, evacuated.
Didn't know either of them just a few months ago, but their names are now on lawn signs all over America, and each was parodied on.
It's worth pointing out that I'm sure HasanAbi will also bring you up on, will also post you up, is that Hezbollah is not staying idle. They're also attacking Israeli before they were relieved, evacuated from the scene. But it's worth pointing out that I'm sure HasanAbi will also.
That's TRT World, not Al Jazeera. And the dude who's talking is a Turkish guy. What the fuck? Why is there a random HasanAbi mention on TRT?
But it's worth pointing out that I'm sure HasanAbi will also bring you up on, will also post you up, is that Hezbollah is not staying idle. They're also attacking Israeli.
That is wild. Oh, what the fuck is this?
Saturday Night Live this weekend.
Folks, I haven't been this excited since I got a 10% rebate on a leaf blower from Menards. What can I say? I got that BDE, Big Dad Energy.
How much do we love Donald Trump? You know, just this afternoon he told me, JD, you're like a son to me because I don't like you and I'm stuck with you.
Before he became Trump's running mate, Vance was most recognized for his best-selling memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, made into a Netflix movie.
Is this seat taken? Go ahead. Philip Roseman. J.D. Vance.
A Yale-educated lawyer and Silicon Valley venture capitalist.
Vance without a beard, bro. That's like, it's so bad. It's so fucking bad, dog. It is so goddamn bad. Holy moly, it is bad.
The 40-year-old Republican from Ohio was elected to the Senate just 2 years ago.
Making me
Once
sick.
a never-Trumper, now a fierce defender of all things Trump.
I've disagreed with the president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that I was wrong about Donald Trump.
Walz, who is 60, was a former teacher and high school football coach for over 2 decades before running for office. He served in the United States House of Representatives, a Democrat serving in a rural district that leans Republican, becoming governor of Minnesota.
I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on.
Both men are military veterans, their Midwest backgrounds contrasting with the coastal upbringings of Trump and Harris. Both brought onto the ticket to appeal to voters from Middle America. One of the few heated exchanges came on a...
Yeah, the problem is until this last night's debate, and I don't even know if his like approval ratings will boost in the Midwest. One guy was seen as like a real Midwest guy. The other guy is seen as like the exact type of annoying rat fucker that is from there, but then comes back to just basically... one thing that I always repeat about J.D. Vance is J.D. Vance types and Pete Buttigieg types, when they come to your town, you're going to lose your job, okay? That's how most people in the Midwest see these fuckers, okay? They see them as like these suited up motherfuckers who are coming over and the mine is closing down, okay? There's going to be an elimination of redundancies. That's it. He's got real fucking McKinsey consultant vibes. Carpetbagger. Cook political swing state polls. AZ for Arizona, Harris is up 2. Gallego up 13. GA Trump up 2. Harris is up 3. Slotkin's up 4 in Michigan. Nevada, Harris is up 1. Rosen's up 13. North Carolina, Harris and Trump are tied, but Stein is up plus 24 for the governor's race. Pennsylvania, Harris is up only 1. Casey's up 7. Wisconsin, Harris is up 2. Baldwin plus 2. That's also a little bit scary. But, you know, it's not looking too great, I would say.
Abortion and reproductive rights. Vance, who has in the past favored a national abortion ban, softened his stance to try to align with Trump.
I want us as a Republican Party to be pro-family in the fullest sense of the word. I want us to support fertility treatments. I want us to make it easier for moms to afford to have babies.
Well, Walz continued to attack Trump for appointing the judge.
It's not Jill Stein yet. No, it's Josh Stein, the guy running for governor. What do you guys think, that North Carolina is having a fucking green resurgence? Like, what are you, crazy?
Justices that overturned Roe v. Wade.
This issue is what's on everyone's mind. Donald Trump put this all into motion. He brags about how great it was that he put the judges in and overturned Roe versus Wade. 52 years of personal autonomy. And then he tells us, oh, we send it to the states. It's a beautiful thing.
The latest polling averages showing very tight margins across all 7 battleground states. At one point, the two seemed to be having a real conversation about a tough issue, gun violence in America.
These are things that shouldn't be that difficult. You can still keep your firearms, and we can make a difference. We have to. If you're listening tonight, this breaks your heart.
Senator.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. And I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's doing okay. Christ have mercy. It is awful.
While both agreed there's a problem with gun violence.
Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns, and there are things that you can do about it. But I do think that this is one, and I think this is a healthy conversation.
Do you think a split ticket is actually possible with Stein up 24? It's a unique one, but governor races usually are, even if they're on the same ticket, they oftentimes have the capacity to be separate totally from the rest of the ballot, because people have a personal connection to their governors. Like, you have blue states with red governors, red states with blue governors. The most popular governor is a literal fucking Democrat in goddamn Kentucky, right? Mark Robinson, on the other hand, however, is like very much a Trumpian style gubernatorial race. Like, he's backed by Donald Trump. He is very Trumpian. So that might create, in the minds of North Carolinians, like more resistance against voting for Trump.
I think there's a capacity to find solutions on this that work, protect the Second Amendment, protect our children. That's our priority.
There was no real agreement about.
Why is the polling better for Trump now than the other 2 elections? A couple different reasons. One, perhaps most importantly, is the fact that the pollsters are trying to make sure that they don't run into the same problems that they did in like 2016, especially. So they're, you know, they're over polling in some instances, almost like they're weighing for an underrepresentation of Republican voters. I think that's part of the reason. They're just trying to make sure that they're not going to look silly. Other than that, I mean, Kamala Harris is not running a very good campaign. It's just, I don't know what else to say. So he's not actually that popular. I mean, he's not a very popular person. That much is true.
how to address it.
We have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors lock better. We have to make the doors stronger. We've got to make the windows stronger. And of course, we've got to increase school resource officers, because the idea that we can magically wave a wand and take guns out of the hands of bad guys, it just doesn't fit with recent experience.
With the one and only vice presidential debate over, both candidates are now back out to the battleground states.
Turning now to our wisest of all wise heads on all things political, our chief political analyst, John Dickerson. He also hosts the Daily Report with John Dickerson on